Welcome again to PR Presents. I'm Patrick Lay. Now, back in 2020, when the world was in lockdown, a 12-year-old avant-garde pop singer-songwriter from Surrey wrote her first ever song called Ain't a Game. Since then, numerous records and many performances at festivals later, and include being on BBC's Live on Air, it's fair to say her journey has gone from strength to strength. And today I'm pleased to be joined by the very person herself, Sofia Gillani. Great to meet you.
Gosh, hello. Thank you so much for having me on. It's so exciting to be here.
Well, Sophia, we'll start off then. As I say, it's been quite a journey for you already. Where did your love for music begin?
I think I've always been quite a bold and expressive person. So I knew like at some point in my life, I'd have to be kind of creative my own avenue. My dad was a musician, so I kind of grew up around instruments, if that makes sense. Our conservatory had like a lot of random bits and bobs, that, and he was a music teacher, so it was inevitable.
Yeah.
But after doing like numerous talent shows and kind of getting into singing itself, I knew I wanted to personalize it and make it more me. And that's how I ended up, like you said, releasing my first single at 12 and just building on from there.
No, an incredible journey. So you obviously got a lot of influences there at a young age. Not least of all, obviously, your dad with all these instruments. Do you play instruments yourself then, as well as obviously your amazing voice?
I think, I mean, I dabble with a bit of piano and stuff, but when it comes to actually like making the beats and stuff, I'm quite good around there, if that makes sense. Like I'm good at like sampling things and like mixing and mashing and like working with my producer, obviously. But in terms of actual instruments, I'm okay at piano, I'd say, but we're still working on that. We're still working on that.
When you're obviously growing up then back in the 2010s, what artists did you have that you kind of like aspired towards, if you like?
Yeah. I listened to quite a range of genres, I'd like to think, because again, parents, they would listen to literally everything. But I knew one of my main influences from the beginning until now, one of my main influences is Adele. I love Adele. She's really like powerful. She's very like, she sticks to herself. Her key messages come out and she's very like unafraid to be bold in her songs and to like take that leap creatively. So I think her, and then definitely like the classics, Michael Jackson, etc. But yeah, I think Adele's my leading influence and has always been.
Well, having written a lot of experimental pop tracks over the past 5 years, this year's gone sort of in a slightly different direction with the form of Read Your Mind. It's got a proper garage vibe to it, and has got much acclaimed as well because it's been on BBC Asian Network and obviously you performed at all your festivals as well. How much of a change has that been for you to do that?
It's been it's been so lovely to see the response on it. I think going into kind of that Pink Pantheress vibe, because it was what I was listening to at the time, and trying a bit of garage in my pop, it kind of definitely solidified the fact that I wanted to do avant-garde pop. I wanted to blend other genres with pop and make it more accessible for people who like to listen to other things apart from pop. Um, with Read Your Mind, it was so crazy the actual process of it, because even in the song itself, I put on like a little bit of like a voice for the garage. And so having people listen to it and, you know, love it and like that I'm being a bit more experimental with my music, definitely gives me confidence. And, especially like you said with BBC, that was absolutely surreal. And it's definitely a landmark in my career.
That's fantastic, isn't it? So, I mean, in terms of your music that you've made so far, I mean, you've said, I've looked on your sort of website and other sort of articles that you like to be experimental. Is there one track which you think possibly maybe more than the others you felt you've been most experimental with?
Yes. I did a track, this is ages ago now. It was my third ever single. It's called Waiting for You. It's definitely the most experimental song that I'd ever released because it was kind of me going into more like a goth kind of vibe. Like I was yodeling and like it was it was very different from, the light-hearted messages of my first single, which was Ain't a Game. Um, but I want, again, like I said, I was trying to find myself in that part of my career. And so I think that song, it's quite pretty for me because while it didn't get the most response than like all my other songs, for me it's deeply personal because it shows just like what I was going through and what my mind was at the time.
I can see that you've headlined, of course, at the Hazelmere Fringe Festival. You've performed at many of the Pride festivals as well around the country, and of course the HMV in-store events. Have you found that when you've performed at these gigs and these events that you've had like a real sort of spike then in people downloading your music?
I think so, yeah. I mean, especially with the HMV, I'd never really done record store performances until kind of this summer and a bit of last summer. This summer was very, very productive, I'll tell you that much. But definitely with Pride festivals, which are just so fun and are just so filled with like love and energy, people want to listen to new music. People want to discover more independent artists. People want to, so people want something new and refreshing. And so being able to perform and headline at some of those gigs, having the response afterwards, especially online, people texting me like, "Oh, I listened after your song and I've just checked out the gig footage." It reminds me of why performing is my favorite part of being a singer, because you get to see people react to your songs in real time, and honestly, there's nothing like it.
Well, of course, you are a singer-songwriter, which must take up a lot of your time as well. And I believe as well that you produce your own music videos. How much of a juggling act is that with your time to do both?
Honestly, it's so crazy, but I love it. I love having a foot in everything. And I think that comes with being an independent artist as well. Like, you don't have people doing it for you. You kind of have to really make sure that what you want to be released is what you want. So I really like to, like I said, have a foot in everything. In terms of the music video side of it as well, I like to make sure that during the creative process, like I'm involved with the mood boards, and like when different takes come out, I get to look back on it and, give feedback. It's also, it's fun. I enjoy being in every single aspect of being a singer-songwriter. And it's made me more well-rounded as a person, having to see the different lenses that it like takes to be a singer.
Well, on to your new single then. It was released last month, Vulnerability. Just like Read Your Mind, it's got a real sort of like feel-good vibe to it. But as the name might suggest, is there perhaps a deeper meaning behind the track?
Yes. I actually wasn't expecting to release Vulnerability. Like, it wasn't meant actually to be the next song, because I kind of wanted to write this way with like fun, upbeat songs. And it is relatively upbeat, but as you can tell, the title in itself. But it was kind of, I felt necessary. I love the song, and it was so, I resonated it the most right now with it the most right now, because it is quite difficult times, and the song itself is talking about how it's inevitable to kind of open yourself up to people and have that hurt and have that rejection, and how we kind of have to move on from it, but it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to go through that. So while Read Your Mind was about meeting people and losing people, Vulnerability is kind of like a sister to Read Your Mind in that sense. And it's honestly, I can say, one of my favorite tracks that I've released today.
Good. No, I mean, it's a fantastic new single, and yeah, I mean, it's one which I've sort of been listening to a lot recently as well in the last couple of weeks since I found out about it. Well, I've seen on TikTok you've alluded to the growing trend of AI music and the impact, of course, which this has. How much do you think this will be a concern to independent artists like yourself?
I think AI in itself is so inevitable that people either take the fear approach to it and kind of just completely avoid it and try and avoid it, and then there's people who completely dive 100% into it. But I think when it comes to the creative industries, AI is not needed. It's genuinely not needed. I think, summarizing things great, but making music and expressing human emotions, it doesn't actually logically make sense to have AI in those industries, especially music and especially acting as well. If you've seen that AI actress, it's crazy to see how people are valuing profit over genuine creativity. So I'm completely against it. And I think independent artists are going to be affected by AI and music the most, because they don't have that money and signing behind them to be able to kind of fight it. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to let AI phase me, and I'm not going to certainly not going to be using it anytime soon. But, what can we do nowadays, really?
Do you think there's something which the music industry could do? I mean, as you say, you talked about it being inevitable, but to try to distinguish between the two and say, okay, this is the AI music which people are making, and this is the stuff which is being independently produced by amazingly talented artists like yourself.
I can only hope that I guess if AI is used more in the creative industries, that it's regulated in a way that it doesn't completely replace songwriting, if that makes sense. Like the actual music process itself, when it comes to making beats, I don't know, maybe AI could be incorporated into, helping that, but I don't think it should replace producers, and I don't think it should replace songwriters. I think it should be regulated to a point where there's a limit. I think there's, but like properly, and not like they say it and then they still do it anyways. And I just hope that we don't go into the system where we categorize music into like two sections, AI music and human music. I think it should just be human music, and then have AI as like a tool, not something to replace it altogether.
Well, finally then, Sofia, I understand that in 2026 you're releasing a new Reconceptualize album on vinyl. Is releasing it in that music format arguably the one which you're most excited about?
I mean, any artist would be so excited to have their music on a physical, I think. It's been such a weird process getting it done, but so fun and chaotic. And like you said, it's my first vinyl, it's my first kind of completed work, my first album. I've been going on and on in previous interviews about how it's a singles market, but I think now I kind of want to take that risk, and I want to take that leap, and I want to release, my first completed project, if that makes sense. And I'm so excited. It's, like you said, it's called Reconceptualize. It's very much the different processes that, I'm going through, the different experiences, different emotions. It's very fun, and it's also very mellow, and it's also some of the best work that I've done. And so I'm really excited to release that, especially on vinyl, and, dealing with distribution and stuff. But, next thing you know, I'll be performing back in the record stores promoting that. So it's really full circle, and I'm really excited for what that brings in 2026.
Well, hopefully so, and as I say, I'm sure there's still plenty of stuff to follow for yourself ahead. It's just 18, dare I say it, so yeah, an incredible journey already. So, well, Sofia, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today and getting good insight into what's been already an incredible 5 years, and I'm sure that's going to carry on. And if you want to find out more about the new releases which Sofia's got coming up, or any live performances she's going to be doing, you can follow, of course, on her social media platforms. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in to me, and a special thank you again for Sofia Gillani, and tune in again soon for more PR Presents.